Hey there, my name is Megan and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free review for Gallant by V.E.SCHWAB. But before we go ahead and get on into the review, if you are not already subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, as well as the little bell icon so you can be notified every time I post new bookish content. I post new videos every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday, and sometimes other days throughout the week. Also, don't forget to check down the description box below for links to all of my social medias, my Buddy Read Discord, and my Patreon, where you can be entered into winning book giveaways from me. Gallant is V.E.SCHWAB's most recently published fantasy novel, and it is an adult fantasy, but I definitely think that younger ages could read this. It's a very accessible, easy to read story. There's really nothing in it that I think a younger person wouldn't be able to read or wouldn't like reading. And if you are someone that primarily reads like a YA fantasy and you are looking to transition into some more adult stuff, I definitely think that this would be a good book for you, and it is a standalone. In Gallant, we follow a girl named Olivia Pryor, and Olivia Pryor lives at this school called Maryland's. She is an orphan, and she was just dumped off at this school one day, and Olivia is also mute. So I did not realize this when I first picked up this book, that the main character was mute, so it definitely presents a lot of challenges for her, and all she has from her mother is this journal. She doesn't know who really her mother is or who her father is. This journal just has a G on the front of it, so she knows that her mom's name began with a G. And in this book, the mom starts off with journal entries that are very lucid, but as the journal goes on, they just start sounding more and more mad, like she was losing her mind. And there also are a ton of illustrations in this book, and the mom speaks directly to Olivia in this journal. So the journal is like her most prized possession. Olivia has just been treated very badly at Maryland's from like the other girls because she is strange, she's mute, she can't really stand up for herself vocally, so she resorts to like physical aggression to protect herself. And then all she knows is that her family own this estate called Gallant because in the journal, the mom warns Olivia that you will be safe as long as you don't return to Gallant. But one day, Olivia receives at the school a letter from her uncle saying that they want her to return to Gallant, that he has been searching for her whole entire life, and Olivia is probably about 17 at this time, maybe 18, and she is released from the school, taken to Gallant, but when she arrives at Gallant, she finds that her uncle is dead, and one of his sons, her cousin, is her only living relative, and he says that no one wrote that letter. Olivia ends up staying at Gallant for a little while and starts digging into the mystery of the house, the family, exactly what's strange about it, why her cousin seems to be sick, and just some other strange things that are going on, as well as digging into the mystery of who her father is and what all of the different journal entries, illustrations, and messages mean in her mom's journal. And one odd thing about Olivia is that she has the ability to see ghouls. So ghouls are kind of like ghosts, and she sees them wherever she goes. So she sees them at Maryland's, and then when she gets to Gallant, she definitely sees them at Gallant, but all of these ghouls are actually deceased prior family members. So she recognizes her mother and her uncle Arthur and a bunch of other prior family. And these ghouls are not able to harm her, but it definitely adds like a super creepy element to this book that I just like ate up, because they're just described as like gross and ghostly and like walking corpses, and they're just definitely added like a creepy factor. As for the things I liked, I really liked the way that Victoria Schwab developed this setting. So when Olivia is first at Maryland's, Maryland's is described as just being cold and bare and sterile, and all Olivia wants is a family, to be loved, to be wanted, to have a place that she can call home. So when she's summoned to Gallant, like, she has no qualms about going. And then we have this gorgeous sprawling estate of Gallant, and just the way that Victoria Schwab described that, it's like an old house and then the gardens, and she really was able to develop such imagery with regards to this house and these gardens, and also the creepy factor, because at night they seal the house up, all the ghouls come out, and just the way she described them, I got like these just creepy images in my head, and at some points like I was just weirded out. Like I was sitting on the couch reading and I'm like, oh my god, this would be like a perfect Halloween book. So the atmosphere was excellent, the setting was excellent, the imagery was excellent. Another thing I really liked was how V.E.SCHWAB slowly unfolded the mystery. It kept me gripped from the beginning. Like, I wanted to know about her mother. I wanted to know why her mother went crazy. I wanted to know who her father was. I wanted to know about this dark secret that the Pryor family holds. And then there is this gate, this like wall that is at the end of the garden, and there's some strange things that are going on with this gate. And her cousin, like I said, looks like he is ill, so he's dealing with something. So there are just all these strange things that are going on that Olivia has to ascertain the information to herself, and like she can't talk, like she can't really ask questions. So it was just like added an extra, I guess, hurdle for her to figure out these mysteries by her not being able to vocalize her questions and her thoughts and things like that. So the mystery and how it was developed and unfolded was also very well done. Another thing I like was all the different themes that V.E.SCHWAB touched on. So the first one that I really noticed was just having that sense of belonging, like trying to figure out where I belong in this world, and you know, does a family really make who I am? And then that kind of turns into like the importance of family, and does family necessarily mean like blood relation? Because there are some servants that are at Gallant that are basically like family to the Pryors. And then also, like, what makes a home? Just because you are in a space, just because you are safe, doesn't mean that you are happy and that you are at home. So it's kind of like asking yourself what exactly it means to have a home versus a house. Another thing I really liked was the theme of death and how it is technically a part of life, because we see a lot of the Pryors dealing with death in order to protect their loved ones and kind of the entire world. And then we also have a character that is the embodiment of death, and Olivia, who is the embodiment of life. So V.E.SCHWAB really used a lot of juxtaposition to communicate the ideas of death and life, and also like she used a lot of symbolism to show death and life, particularly around like gardening and growing things. She really imbued the entire book with the ideas of death and life and how they both occur together in a sense. As for the things I didn't like so much, the climax was way too short. Like the climax was like over and done in like 2 sentences. And the build up to it was excellent. And I was expecting just more. And like, it just wasn't. It just fell really flat for me. Like, I mean, it led to a good ending, but like the actual scene, the actual climax itself just was like way too short. And I don't know, it just didn't fit in with the rest of the book. It just needed to be more fleshed out, and I feel like the story itself needed to be more fleshed out. There was a lot of introductions to Olivia's magic and the magic system in general that I just would like to spend more time with. Olivia's relationship with her cousin Matthew, I would have liked to seen that developed more. So this book, I think, just was a little bit too short. There were just some elements that were introduced, and I just would have liked to see more explained. I would have liked to spend more time, you know, with those characters, those relationships, those ideas, and it was just over and done with. And then another thing that I didn't like so much is that even though the book and the story was really good and really gripping, it wasn't overly unique. The story wasn't overly unique. It's ideas and things that have been done in books and movies and even like her own work. Like I was reading this book and I was like, this reminds me of A Darker Shade of Magic. Who wrote A Darker Shade of Magic again? Holy cow, V.E.SCHWAB wrote A Darker Shade of Magic. So I feel like even like the ideas in this book were kind of repeating ideas and things that I've read in like some of her other books. So lack of originality was definitely one of the things that lowered my star rating. All in all, I really did enjoy Gallant. I feel like it's an excellent standalone fantasy, especially if you're trying to transition from YA to adult, as well as if you're someone that likes the creepy factor, like the haunted house feel in books. This definitely has that, and the illustrations in this book are absolutely gorgeous. I love the fact that the illustrations, like from her mom's journal, were like included for the reader along with like excerpts from the journal. It just added to the story so much. So I ended up giving Gallant a 4 out of 5 stars. All right, you guys, let me know in the comments if you've read this book and what you thought of it, or if you're planning on reading it, and I will see y'all in another video soon. Goodbye!